Hello everyone. Thank you so much for joining. We're really excited to be here. Like Matt mentioned, we are a small application development team. We're in HR L&D at T-Mobile. And about 3 years ago, we set out to build an internal video content management system specifically for training content um, using AWS. So it's been a lot more successful than we ever even expected it to be. And that's pushed us to really explore building a mobile application for the platform. And then, of course, we had the perfect storm of huge corporate merger and pandemic, a global workforce, and juggling all of the time zones. And that made us really start to think about designing the podcast to cater to our podcasting content, which is what we've done. So I'm going to go to the next slide if I can get over here. So this is us. I'm Stanci. I'm the team manager, and we have Eric. He's going to be talking to you in just a little bit. He's our visionary, also our designer, and a developer. Wei Li is our front end developer for our Eclipse platform, and he has developed our mobile application. Venkatesh is our AWS developer. He does all the AWS development, and Kyle is our project manager, and he keeps us in line. So I'm going to let Eric walk you through the process of what we went through to build our application, and Wei is here too to answer any questions you may have for him. Okay, Eric, are you ready? You want to talk about Clips? You might be on mute, Eric.
Yes, I was on mute.
I thought maybe you were.
Yeah, that's so uncharacteristic of me. Well, thanks. Yeah, so I think Stanci's done a good job of kind of introducing the history here of our team and what we've been working on. I do want to talk a little bit about our video content management system, because that's the platform and the back end of what we're developing as far as our mobile app goes. So we've built a video and audio media system in using Amazon Web Services and a React front end. It's with a tube-like interface, so it's kind of a familiar, YouTube type of interface where everybody has a personalized experience. You can go in and search, and then our content curators can go in and upload and manage their content, and we have some other different types of users that use this platform. It's really been quite successful at T-Mobile. Our team comes from Sprint, so in the merger that took place, we came over with this application that we developed ourselves. T-Mobile already had a number of content management tools that they use for media, and over the past 18 months or so, we've kind of replaced many of those with our system. So we've brought in a lot of business units, and our content has grown. We've now got over 4,000 pieces of content, 150 plus content contributors. These are people that can upload and manage content, and we receive hundreds of thousands of hits or content views every single day. So we get a lot of traffic, and it's been extremely successful. And so we have that tube interface, but I think what really makes us successful is that we integrate with a number of other systems and platforms at T-Mobile. So we embed into Adobe Experience Manager, Microsoft SharePoint, and then some learning management systems like Cornerstone, OnPoint, Lessonly, an in-house LMS that we have as well. So we seamlessly integrate into that. It's very easy for people to put content in there, and it's easy to repurpose content across all these different sites, put it into channels, into playlists. It's just, that's our whole design, is really about how all these different people at T-Mobile can create, put it into a central location, and they can manage the access to that with, having secure content that is easy to embed into different sites. The next phase of this that we see is putting it into a podcast type of format that is accessible to exempt employees, so salaried employees, on their personal reliable devices, so on their mobile phones, Android, iOS phones, with a native app experience, so they can, play back content offline, or store it on their device, create queues, etc. So, Stanci, if you could go to the next slide, talk a little bit about
Yeah.
that.
So we have about how
So,
many users then, Eric? Like about
oh,
24,000?
yeah, I'm not totally sure. The last time I checked, we had about 25,000 registered users of Clips, but we have probably about 100,000 users that access Clip content
Mm-hmm.
through the embedded experiences. So
Yeah.
we have ways that we can reach like literally anyone, but mostly we deliver to T-Mobile employees and contractors, indirect dealers, which are retail employees that work for other third parties that sell T-Mobile, and service partners, which maybe include like customer service, or some of the companies that we work with that do network build out, those types of things.
Right.
So we have this great platform in Clips with lots of media in it already. So how can we use that to create a podcasting experience? We've been working on building out Clips to support podcasts with new content contributor features for creating podcast shows, and then episodes. And the episodes can be anything, can be any piece of video or audio that's in there that's created by any of our content contributors. They just simply add that into their show, and they're basically then curating a show that has content that is on topic with what they want to put into their programming. The path of this thing has been actually a couple of years. We've got a number of of people that have been developing podcast content already. They've just been embedding it into like SharePoint sites and things, and it's just been missing that podcast experience of being able to easily get it on a mobile device, queue it, play it offline, have your screen go dark and still listen, those types of features and functions. So we've been, early on, we gathered a lot of requirements. We've built design comps, which have been somewhat of a brainstorm and also kind of a paper prototype to show, to kind of work through how the application might work. And then we started going out and looking at different technologies. We evaluated, looked at build versus buy, and we kind of started moving down this path towards Ionic. No one else at T-Mobile really that we could find had experience with Ionic, but there's a lot of mobile app development that goes on here, and but most of those are larger teams, and they primarily develop like native apps. For us, being a tiny team with several other responsibilities as well, we had to go with something that was a little bit easier, and it was compatible with our existing experience that we have and the resources that we have on our team. Kind of the things that, well, anyway, I think other things that so right now we've been in the process of building it this fall. Some of the things that we've been working on are hooking into Okta for single sign-on on the device. We've been working with internal teams that handle the distribution of mobile apps through the App Store. Our application is an internal use type of thing, so it's not really applicable to the general public, and so that's got its own things about it, and mostly on the iOS side. But anyway, so we've been working through those things, and in first quarter of next year, that's when we'll be rolling this out and piloting it with some of our close partners, like in business sales, corporate communications, human resources. We have some teams that have already been developing content and specifically around this, and they are going to be launching programs using our application. And then finally, we'll be taking the inputs from those pilot that pilot program, and getting ready for an enterprise rollout for any exempt employee to get this application. You can go ahead and go to the next slide, Stanci.
Good.
So why did, kind of why we picked Ionic? We've already been using React for the front end and with the Clips application. So we had quite a bit of experience with that, and that's what what Way primarily uses. So that was quite nice. We also appreciate the component, just the simplicity of the components and kind of the native feel of them. So relatively easy for us to theme it and skin it. So it has the T-Mobile branding, but still looks like a iOS or Android application. So that's great. Also, the Ionic native solutions were a good fit for what we needed. We needed secure storage on the device, so the ability to download those media pieces and also some metadata, and keep that secure and make sure that the user can only access that if they have authenticated into the application, and that if they leave the company, they no longer have access to the content. Other solutions like Identity Vault, Auth Connect, and then the capacitor wrapper also were really important to us. We couldn't have done this without the partnership that we've had with Ionic as well, the training. Even though we have the React background, there's still some things in there that we had to get up to speed with, and that took us some time to do, and we were able to get a good jump start with the 3 days of training. And then we've had design reviews, and we have regular meetings where we can ask questions, and we've had our partners with Ionic do help us with research and come back with some solutions there. And then finally, kind of our longer range vision of this, there's some other types of ideas that we have for building this out in the future, and maybe even connecting. Right now we're planning on making our app available only to exempt employees, but in the future we'd like to make it available to non-exempt employees as well, so hourly store employees. But we need to be able to tie in with like our time management tools like Kronos to make that a possibility. Otherwise, because we can't have them accessing content off the clock. So, Stanci, you want to go to the next one?
Yeah.
Thanks.
Oh, good. I like this one.
Yeah. So this is a little view of our application. It's pretty basic at this point, but it's a familiar podcast experience. User logs in with single sign-on Okta, and they see content that is curated for them, but they also are exposed to new things that are being produced, and they can subscribe to those shows. They also see a feed where the latest content is shown. So like the latest podcasts or episodes across any number of shows are shown in a single feed, but they can dive into the particular show and see all of the content for that show. And then one thing we do that is maybe a little different than your average podcast is we have a lot of video content, and our application is not necessarily, it's not video or audio. We mix things, so it's easy to put both types of media into the same show, etc. But users interact with it in a kind of a familiar way, and they have tools like be able to download that to their device and play it back, maybe on a plane if they ever get back to that, or when they have windshield time, they're driving, or just maybe you don't have confidence in a network connection and you want to make sure that you have it. And all your activity that takes place in this is tracked using XAPI standards, and those we capture that into our learning record store, which is a Watershed is the platform we use there, and we also track that activity back into Clips. So in Clips you see your history, favorites, and likes, and things like that. and it also keeps track of what you're viewing inside of clips.
Good.
Nancy, you can go to the next one, I guess.
Yeah. Hmm.
This is challenges. So, I think that when we first started talking with Ionic over a year ago, we thought this would be going a little bit, go faster than it was. But the reality is we're just a tiny team. There's really 3 of us that do most of the development on this. And we have had a lot of work that we've had to do with Clips over the past year. The merger has been a kind of a rolling set of changes that have taken place. And we're always having to kind of switch focus back to supporting changes with Clips. All of those other content management systems and all that content that's been like in Wistia and some other sources, we've had to migrate into Clips, and so we've done a lot of work with that. Other things that like Wei has told me about is like just like the learning curve of this has been a little bit, to do. We're somewhat self-taught. We don't have a lot of partners to turn to inside of T-Mobile, and this is our first mobile application build as well. So there's everything that goes with that we've had to learn about. TypeScript is one of the things that Wei has had to learn. Our partnership with our internal IT organization and hooking up with Okta has been a challenge for us. We do use Okta with Clips, but it's a completely different setup and experience with the mobile side of things, and our Okta team also didn't really have experience there. So again, that's an area where the Ionic team helped us out quite a lot, and we had we got everybody on the same call with IT, and we were able to work through that and get that set up. Unit testing is a big part of Ionic's process, and that's something that we haven't really done a lot in the past. And for us, it's more about time and resources that are required there. And it's a lot of kind of upfront, but saving you time in the back end, and we're trying to do better with that. And then one of the things too is the publishing piece. So we've just been having to learn a lot more about that. That's completely new to us. We have found those teams within T-Mobile and engaging with those processes. And then last thing is that this merger and the distances between us all, and it has just been quite big. So we are all a legacy Sprint employees, and so we're having to learn all new processes and teams and ways to engage in this kind of new, brand new T-Mobile.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Stanci, to the next one if you'd like.
Yeah, I would say, Eric, you mentioned that it's taken longer than we thought. So I'd say because of that, I think we probably did expect to publish our app in like late summer, but it's looking like it'll be probably January is what we're looking for, just to give people an idea of the the impact of these challenges. Okay.
Yeah. So this is kind of like where we're at and where we're going. Like Stanci says, we're looking at first quarter for our pilot and publishing of the app, getting it onto the app stores for access. Increasing our podcasting content. We have lots of content, 4,000 videos. Some of it's perfect content. We have a lot of long form things, 60 minutes, 90 minutes, interviews with thought leaders, lots of good stuff that can be put in there. And it just needs to be organized into the shows, essentially. So curated by our content contributors into shows, and that'll be taking place in the coming weeks. Getting the word out within T-Mobile that this is a new thing that they have access to, a new way to utilize Clips. And finally, I think about this a lot is why we've been successful with the Clips application and other things that we've done is we've built critical mass with these things, and we want to do the same with our podcasting app. The more people that are using this app, it only, there's a lot of synergies with the clips, and it also, so we're driving use of that platform as well, and we're repurposing the content that's on that platform into a new way of delivering it, and all of that leads to more people working within your ecosystem and wanting to get in there, and more teams getting on board. So the more groups we have, the more teams that are using this, the better this whole platform becomes for everybody. And that's really what our goal here is. It's this mobile experience, this podcasting experience is one that just complements everything we're already doing. And I think it's just gonna, it's gonna just fit really well. So, and yeah, that's basically kind of what we've been doing and where we're at. And then yeah, we have Q&A, I think.